The 48th Japanese Grand Prix is scheduled to take place this weekend on October 9th. It was first held all the way back in 1963. The current race is held at the Suzuka circuit. Michael Schumacher is the current record holder with 6 victories in this particular race. However, on 4 separate occasions, the race was held at the Fuji circuit. Those 4 races were in 1976, 1977, 2007, and 2008. The current circuit of Suzuka has been used from 1966 to 1975 and 1987 to the present day, barring those 2 years at Fuji in 07 and 08. Now, the Suzuka circuit itself is a 5.8 kilometer, 3.6 mile track for all my American brethren out there. And the race will be scheduled for 53 laps. The track layout itself, Suzuka is a 18-turn, very, very extremely technical track. There are gravel traps at almost every runoff area. So you better show up on your game this week. It's also technically a figure 8 track, but it does cross over itself. Should also be noted that the track is very narrow and there is only one DRS zone on the main or front stretch. Now, the Japanese Grand Prix for a very long time was the final race on the Formula One calendar, with some very notable championship battles coming down to this particular race. Now, I'm just going to touch on the 2, obviously, most notable of these battles. In 1976, obviously, this was at the Fuji circuit. James Hunt and Niki Lauda. Now, if you don't know the story, Niki Lauda was involved in an accident at the Nürburgring that earlier that year, came back 42 days later, raced in, Ferrari's home race at Monza, and was still in contention for the championship, going into the final race of the season. A movie has been made about this called Rush. If you haven't seen it already, I highly recommend it. Really good movie. Basically, what happened in the final race of the season at the Japanese Grand Prix was Niki Lauda pulled his car into the pits and retired the car due to dangerous conditions. He was not the only driver to do so. Emerson Fittipaldi, Carlos Pace, they also retired from the race. It should be said that James Hunt continued on and finished in position high enough to score enough points to overtake Lauda in the championship and secure his first and only world championship. Interesting caveat, side note, Mario Andretti actually won that race that particular year in Japan. Now, for the second one that I will talk about, is actually split between 2 separate seasons. This would be the 1989 and 1990 championships contested between Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost. In 89, it was very, very controversial. Basically, what happened was Senna had he was faster at this track, in this particular track, and he was going to pass Prost, and Prost had the championship lead. So basically, if none of them finished the race, or neither of them finished the race, Prost would win the championship. So when they, got together, I believe it was turn 18, it kind of looked, from my personal opinion, that Prost turned into Senna in order to try and, retire both their cars. However, that's personal opinion. And this led to the marshals actually push-started Senna and got him going again. And I believe at some point in time, he was black flag, or he was disqualified after the race. So, that was a very, very controversial moment in Formula One history. It also led to Senna being banned from racing competition for 6 months. Now, it should also be noted that Alain Prost, Frenchman, the head of the FIA at the time, Can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he was also a Frenchman. So whether or not any politics or dirty play was going about there, who can really say? Now in 1990, there was also another incident between Senna and Prost. So it kind of, replayed in the exact opposite order with, Prost winning the championship in 89 and Senna winning the championship in 90. So since we're already talking about the championship, let's just go ahead and get into my 5 predictions for what we can expect from the Japanese Grand Prix. Number 1, Max Verstappen will not clinch the championship this particular week. There is obviously a scenario where all he has to do is win the race and score the fastest lap and it's over. However, I do not think that this will happen. I believe it's going to happen in the United States, in the home country. So, looking forward to that. Hopefully I'm right on this one. Second, I believe, I don't know. It's going to be a toss-up as to who actually wins the race, because with the weather can change in Japan in a second. I believe at this point in time they are forecasting the start of the race to be wet and it more than likely moved to dry toward the end. Unlike last week in Singapore, this is a day race instead of a night race, so there's better chance of the track drying out. On top of that, I believe they have way better drainage at the Suzuka circuit. So if I have to pick a winner on this one, I'm going to double down. I'm going to go with Lewis Hamilton once again, for the simple fact that he has more experience than pretty much any other driver that is on the grid at this particular track. And I don't know, I just feel like he is due. I'm not that big of a Hamilton fan, but you can't discount the fact that he is the current record holder for the most Grand Prix wins. So I will go with Hamilton to win the race. And I think a wet start and a transition could potentially play into their hand. The third prediction for this week. Now, obviously, you can say as much about it as you want, but if it's a relatively dull race, as it more than likely will be, we won't see a lot of passing going on other than strategy-wise due to the nature of the track. You'll hear the announcers talk about the cost cap quite a lot during the course of this race. And you've been probably hearing about that a lot here lately. So if you want me to do a specific video on the cost cap and how the cost cap works, let me know down in the comments below. For the fourth prediction that I will give you here this week, Yuki Tsunoda, at his first ever home Formula One Grand Prix, will not finish the race. A lot of you might say shocker, but let's be honest. And the fifth and final prediction for the Japanese Grand Prix this weekend upcoming is that Aston Martin will score a double points finish. Now, obviously, they have not been in good form here as of late. However, I don't know. I just have a feeling. What else can you say about that? There we have it. 5 predictions for the upcoming 2022 Japanese Grand Prix. I believe Honda is the title sponsor, but don't quote me on that, ladies and gentlemen.